Alright guys, today we're going to do the last section of your 8th grade geometry class, Flipping of the Classroom. This is 12-7, Circles in the Coordinate Plane. Our objectives are to write equations and graph circles in the coordinate plane and use the equations and graph of the circle to solve problems. Alright, so we need to start out by talking about some formulas. The equation of a circle is based on the distance formula and the fact that all points on a circle are equal distance from the center. So what that means is HK is the center of the circle. All points on this circle are equal distance from the center of the point. And how do we know that? Because that is your radius. So we identify the point on the circle as XY, identify your center as HK, and our radius as R. So you should be familiar with the distance formula, even though you don't like it. You can find your radius by manipulating that distance formula and taking the difference of your x and h, square it, add the difference of your y and k and square it, and then take the square root of that. And then you also can manipulate it in other ways to find the radius squared. Okay? So the equation of the circle is the center of the circle and the radius, and you manipulate that distance formula. So let's apply it. Okay, so we've got the center of circle J and radius. So I'm identifying my coordinates here. And here is the equation of a circle. And then we can substitute in. And simplify what you can. We have our equation of the circle. Okay? Alright, on this one we're given the point that is on the circle. So this is our XY coordinates and the center of circle K. So these are H and K. What we're missing here is the radius. So we can manipulate that distance formula and find out what the radius is. So the radius is going to be your x minus your h squared plus your y minus your k squared, and then take the square root. So let's substitute in. So subtract negative 8 is the same as adding its opposite, so it's add 8. Let's simplify here. So then our radius is going to be the square root of 169, which is plus positive or negative 160, which is positive or negative 13. Because you can take positive 13 and square it and get 169. You can take negative 13 times negative 13 and get 169. Okay, so we've got our radius, and now we need to write the equation. Okay, so the equation, let's see, is where you have your x minus your 1, and that didn't work because I touched the board. Square it plus your y minus your negative 8, so let's add its opposite, square it, equal to r squared. So let's substitute in for our radius. And then simplify. And you have the equation of that circle. Okay, I'm going to be quiet on the next two, let you work them on their own. If you need help, you can look at the board, or you can go back and look at examples 1 and 2. Alrighty, we're going to move on. Okay, if you're given the equation of a circle, you can graph the circle by making a table or by identifying its center and its radius. Okay, so we are going to graph this equation. See if I got the table. Since the radius is the square root of 16, which equals plus or minus 4, use that and the value between the x values. So what we can do here is we can create a table, all right? So we can have values of -4 all the way to 4, positive 4, substituted into our equation. For example, if x squared is -4 squared, our y value is going to be 0. So if you do this, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points to create that circle. And there they are. Actually, guys, you have more than 7 because you would have plus or negative on your y values. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points. The more points you have, the more precise your circle is going to be when you graph it. Okay, so let's try some of this. But first we're going to start with the simple equation of a circle. And, excuse me, we're going to identify our HK, because that's the center of the circle. Here's our H, here's our K, and here's our radius squared. Okay, so H is going to be 3. Our K, our formula is y minus K. So the opposite of a positive 4 is a negative 4. So we have the center of the circle. And then if our radius is 9 squared, R is going to be plus or negative 3. Okay? Let's see if I got a graph on here. And I do not, so let me go back. Okay. So my center is at 3, negative 4. There's the center of my circle. So this circle is going to be mainly down here in quadrant 4. Okay? My radius is plus or negative 3. So, to make it simple, I can go up 3. I can go down 3. I can go right 3. And I can go left 3. Now, I've only got 4 points here, so my circle is not as precise. So if I had more points, it would be more precise. But on this first graph, that is precise enough. Okay? Each one of these points is equal distance from the center, and they're all 3 units. Okay. I believe this is the last one, the last notes for this year. And we're given the equation. We need to find out what the radius is. So the radius is right here. So our radius is the square root of 9, which is plus or negative 3. Okay, so we need to make a graph. Or a table, not a graph. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with negative 3 and substitute all the numbers in between negative 3 and positive 3. Okay, so let's do this. Negative 3 squared is 9. So then our y value is going to be 0. Okay? Negative 2 squared is 4. So y is going to be plus or minus 2.2. And then we're going to substitute in negative 1. So then y is going to be plus or minus 2.8. And then when we substitute 0 in for x, our y value is plus or minus 3. When we substitute in a positive 1, we go back to the plus or minus 2.8. Positive 2, we go back to the 2 plus or minus 2.2. And then the positive 3, we go back to the 0. Okay? All right, I'm going to need to clear that so I can graph it. Okay, so I need to remember to give y'all some sticky graph paper so your graph is more precise than mine. All right, so I have negative 3, 0. And then I have negative 2, positive 2.2, negative 2.2. I have negative 1, positive 2.8, and negative 2.8. And then I have 0 at positive 3 and negative 3. I have 1, 2.8, negative 2.8. I have 2, 2.2, negative 2.2. And I have positive 3 at 0. And see how more precise this circle is than the one we did before? Let's see if I can go back. It's because we have more points on that circle and it'll make it more precise. That's it, guys. I've enjoyed flipping the classroom with you. You've been my first.